Darkness kills, destroys the will. Find a spark, make hearts thrill. Hear the tales of time so grim. Shine a light, don't let it dim. Heather Brown downtown, bound. True crime story she's found. In the shadows, secret stay. Need a light that finds the way.
All right, welcome to another exciting episode of Defeating the Darkness, True Crime Stories with Downtown Heather Brown. That's me, your host. I'm a former homicide and sexual assault prosecutor, and tonight you're in for a treat. And I use that word very loosely because with us tonight is my dear friend, Michael Molfetta. Mike Molfetta. I like to call him Michael because he's not a Michael. But anyway, he is probably realistically the biggest pain in my ass ever as a defense attorney when I was a prosecutor. But I have grown to love him over the years. And he has begrudgingly agreed to come on the show so I can pepper him with questions and we can have a splendid conversation.
Well, I mean, who doesn't want to be referred to as a pain in the ass in the opening remarks? I mean,
Right. Yeah, but I did say I love you.
I know. I get that at home.
I bet you do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, it's fun to be upset with you, Michael, but I have to tell you, when I first got to know you, you were already a defense attorney, right? So we need to give the listeners a little backstory on you because aside from being a pain in the ass, you are a tremendous attorney and you have been in the legal community for many, many years and wearing many different hats. And you've done some amazing things. So I do want to applaud you for that and talk about those things that you've done. But, you know, I got to rib you a little bit since we have,
Yes.
you know, had many cases over the years. Okay, so give us your a little backstory on you. You obviously are an attorney, but what happened? What did you do before law school?
I went to college. I mean, I went straight high school, college, law school.
Where'd you go to law school?
Southwestern in L.A.
Okay.
I did 1 year, I played professional football over in Europe, which was more of a boondoggle than anything else. It may have melted into my fall semester of my first year of law school, and it's possible some people signed me in, but, you know, I admit nothing. And then I became a DA. And I mean, there were a couple things. First of all, I'm not the most politically correct guy on the planet.
You don't say.
We're coming to you. Working for the government was not the optimal situation for me. But more importantly, in 95, Orange County was on the verge of bankruptcy, if in fact they didn't go bankrupt. And I thought it was maybe a bad idea to work for a bankrupt company. So I did civil law for basically 8 months. I was hired to do 2 trials. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and Dallas. And then I got out and I said, I can't do this. And a guy offered me a job and a high percentage of whatever business I brought in, plus the salary as a defense attorney. And first day I was there, a guy walked in and hired me on a murder, and the rest is history.
Okay, what was your first murder case as a defense attorney?
It was a guy who was a bodyguard for a stripper who would go to people's homes, and he looked in. He was sitting out in the car, and he looked in, and she was running around. The guy got a little handsy, and he was coked up and whatever else was going on. And my hero ran in the house and double tapped, put 2 right in his chest because he thought he had a gun on him. Turned out to be pepper spray. And his name was Larry Sanchez. And when he walked in my office, I said, didn't I prosecute you? And he basically said, if you defend me as hard as you prosecute me, I'll be okay. And got him a manslaughter.
Oh, that's a good result for that case, because that's probably arguably what it was, right?
Yeah.
Unlawful right to self-defense, where you think you have the right.
It was an imperfect self-defense, but it was imperfect. It was a self-defense of another, because you do self-defense of another, you put yourself in the shoes of the person, that being the stripper, the dancer. But the pepper spray sort of threw a wrench in the whole thing. But for whatever reason, the prosecutor didn't really make a big deal out of the pepper spray, so I didn't.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that had to feel like a good little win, right?
It felt good, yeah. What feels good is, when people leave the DA's office to become defense attorneys, they usually go out to lunch with the older defense attorneys. I guess now I'm one of them. And I've heard over the years that people say, hey, it doesn't happen like it happened for Molfetta. Like, don't expect it to be able to happen for him. And I just got lucky, and the phone kept ringing, and that was it.
And so you have actually handled many high-profile cases in Orange County.
I have.
Okay, tell us about those, because that's really what the listeners love. They love the true crime stories. So tell us about one of the most interesting like murder cases that you handled.
The most interesting murder case probably it was a woman in Villa Park answers the front door. She's married to a gentleman. She's white. Speaking of strippers, she was a stripper that this financier from, I believe he was from Taiwan, met her, fell in love with her. And one day she answers the door. The maid answers the door, and there's a guy in a suit, and he double taps and puts two in her chest. And
Kills the dancer?
no, kills the wife.
Oh, wow.
Turns out the guy she's married to is considered to be the money guy for the Bamboo Triad. He's connected up and down. The maid says she was behind the door, so she really didn't see the killer, which I thought was total BS, because who goes behind the door when you open it? And then there was a rental car. There was a maroon car that was seen by a neighbor with the shooter. Right around that same time, a lawyer for a very prominent national law firm, Jones Day, left his watch and a suicide note on the Golden Gate Bridge and ostensibly jumped off. And the neighbor who saw the shooter put out a sketch of the shooter, and one of the guys at the firm said, "That's Randy McDonald, the lawyer who had faked his suicide." And for 8 years, Randy lived in Salt Lake City selling meat door to door. That to me is the most disgusting part of the whole scenario. And
Selling meat?
he sold meat, yes.
Who buys meat from a guy who shows up at your door with
Apparently
meat?
Mormons. So anyhow, Randy then went to SMU to find his son, who he hadn't spoken to in years because everybody thought he was dead. And the son called the police on him.
Really? That's got to take balls on the part of the son.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, there's a better story I've heard over the years, but yeah. And so anyway, they now know he's alive. They don't arrest him for the murder. He moves back to California. He's practicing law, paying taxes, blah, 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 blah. And they finally arrest him on the murder. A friend of his contacts me. They hire me. It was going to be the career-making case for me. There was something like 3,500 media requests the first day. It was going to be crazy, and his arraignment date was 9/11/2001. And
there was nobody there.
no, one guy from CBS with a broken leg who flew in the day before. And I remember Randy McDonald, he was in custody at that point. I went back and I said, "Hey, man, it's going to take a while. I don't know if you heard what's going on." He said, "I did hear what's going on. I know you didn't get paid as much as you normally do." He goes, "I'll get a public defender." I said, "No, man, I gave you my word. I'll do it." And we go through the trial. I get him bailed out after the prelim because it was for a financial gain, but they couldn't find it. And my beautiful wife, who you worked with, she sees him one day and she says, "My God, you do look like the composite." I was like, "Okay, Elizabeth."
Your wife, Elizabeth, is hilarious. She's so, I love her.
Yeah, that's. So I did bring him to my office one night, and it was like 1 a.m. Randy and I were working on the case, and earlier that night I'd made the maid come in. And I put her in my conference room, and I walked Randy in because I said, "Okay, if he's the shooter, she's going to react." She didn't react. And to this day, I don't know if he did it. The case was won because...
Was that all they had? I don't say all they had, but they had that he matched a composite.
Composite. He had rented a maroon car on that day. It was
a what?
A maroon car.
Oh.
His story was that once a month I get a hooker. And I drive a Mercedes, and I'm well known around Newport, so I rent a car. And he takes his girl, her name was Daisy, and I remember going through the OC Weekly looking if I couldn't, because remember, he was arrested 8 years after the murder. But he did say the last time he was there at the Petite Willie Suites.
That's a terrible name for suites.
Wonderful name to bring a hooker. He said I do remember that there was a knock on the door, and I thought it was my wife. And it turned out they were there to calibrate the smoke alarm. So I took a film crew with me to the Petite Willie Suites, and I said, "Let's remember how I say this. I'm telling you, first of all, do you keep a record of this?" And they said yes. And it was before computers, and he said, "Yes, we have a log." I said, "On this day, between these hours, at this time, in that room, you calibrated the smoke alarms." And he went through and he said, "Yeah, we did." So that made me think, okay, he's being honest about that. He did look like the composite. He did fake his suicide. But I mean, he's a very prominent civil lawyer who did work for.
Why did he fake his suicide?
His story was his wife was, just sick of it. He just snapped out of his marriage, and he was the lawyer for the husband. Danny Pang was his name. He was Danny Pang's civil lawyer. He did a bunch of corporate work for him. But I'm like, who hires their civil lawyer to go murder their wife? And she was about to go get a divorce.
Wait, you lost me on the whole Danny Pang.
Danny Pang's the husband of the dead woman, Janie Pang, the victim.
Oh, got you.
Financier for the Bamboo
So
Triad.
he had a connection to the
Eddie
financier.
McDonald was his lawyer. And
So the dead guy's, the
dead
dead wife's husband.
right, had a lawyer who was now the
The
defendant.
lawyer was the suspect, and he faked his own death.
Yep.
Yeah, Michael. They were talking,
No,
and he says,
stop.
"I can't stand my wife.
Stop.
I want to get
Stop.
No.
Who hires their civil lawyer to go kill somebody?
No, that's pretty dumb. But
No, not
but
them.
who fakes their own death?
A guy who's trying to get away from a woman he doesn't.
It's called divorce, Michael. You don't
Sure,
have to
divorce is an
fake your own
alternative.
death like he claimed he faked like he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Do you like Bruce Springsteen?
No, yeah.
A lot of people do. I got a wife and kids in Baltimore, Jack. I went out for a ride and I never went back. And anybody that's been married for more than 15, 20 minutes has thought about it.
Oh,
but
dear God.
the
You don't have to fake your own death. Like,
Well, he
I'm
did.
sick of Tom
He
Brown.
did. No matter what, he did.
I believe
That's
that
a fact.
already.
Some people like to taser their spouses. Other people just like to fake their suicides. So be that as it may, after he testified at trial, Walt Schwarm, who was the DA, and the detective she's still a detective, a horribly unethical woman, apparently turned over a report to Walt, and he gave it to me, which was a memo by the FBI, LA Sheriff, Orange County Sheriff, that the husband was a big-time member of the Bamboo Triad, had financed terrorists, and the last sentence of this memorandum was, should remain the primary suspect in the murder of his wife. And that was turned over to me after my guy had testified. And Walt's like, she just gave me this. Judge Fassel brought me in with Walt and said, read it. And I remember I got it at the end of trial one day, and at 3 a.m, I was reading it, and I was like, holy shit. And I woke my wife up. I'm like, am I reading? This is huge. I mean, it's huge. And long story short, I was given the choice of asking for a mistrial or putting the detective back on the stand for as long as I want, ask her any question I want, and the prosecution could not object, and I just had free reign. And I skewered that woman, and I said, my final question was, so in spite of all of this, because every sentence I read to her, I said, yet the civil lawyer remains the defendant in the wife's murder. Went through the whole thing. I said, and after the last sentence where it said Pang should remain the primary suspect, I said, yet you still believe it was a civil lawyer. Why? And she said, because he lied to his wife. And I knew she was going to say it because she was predictable. And I had one of those little wooden Pinocchios, with the shorts and the red and the wood thing. And I put it right on the podium. I said, who this guy is? She goes, yeah. I said, he's Pinocchio, right? He's a prolific liar. She said, yes. I said, how many people did he kill? And Walt couldn't object. So he was going nuts. And the funny thing is about that trial, it was a 10-2 hang for not guilty. The two, this guy was cheating.
But it hangs the win for
This
the
is why jury trials
listeners.
This is why jury trials are so crazy. The two guys that hung it were for guilty. And their quote was, yeah, she lied, but we wanted to give the prosecution another chance. Were both homosexuals, and I thought, okay, they live sort of, unfortunately, a secret life, whatever, because of their sexuality. I thought maybe they would at least relate a little bit to my guy and his secret life. They were the two that hung it and said for guilty. It's a true story. And now Randy's a lawyer somewhere in California. He was reinstated at the bar, and that was the craziest case. And there were
So, okay, hung 10-2 for our listeners. A hang means like jury can't reach a unanimous decision. I know most of you know that. But in that case, when it's a hung and you're split, like the judge is the one who decides whether or not the prosecutor gets to retry the case.
right.
And this was Judge Fassel. And I'm guessing because you had such a large split for not guilty, that being 10 voted for not guilty, 2 for guilty, that Judge Fassel didn't allow them to retry it?
He dismissed it without prejudice.
Oh.
And over the years, I heard, there were a couple of prosecutors that I don't at the time didn't get along with. One's a judge now, Mike Murray. I had heard he wanted to take a run at it, and I'm like, you go ahead, man. This doesn't get any better for you. And they never did. They never refiled it, and now Danny Pang is dead because he.
Oh, the primary suspect?
Well, yeah, because he took medicine every day of his life for different sort of blood disorders. And then one day he overdosed on the same medicine he'd been taking every day for like 60 years. It's like, oh, that's a little weird. I mean, you think he knew by then how much to take. But I'll tell you this. He came to court one day because I did a third-party culpability, which essentially you have to prove that the other guy did it if you're running that as a defense attorney. And so he came to court with his lawyer, and I'll never forget him, man. He black turtleneck, very well dressed, the deepest, darkest, blackest, lifeless eyes I've ever seen in my life. And in all the years of doing this, that's the only guy who ever scared me. Like, that guy scares the shit out of me.
Really? He's dead now?
He's dead now.
So you can sleep easy, Mikey.
I slept easy before, but
Okay.
it turns out he was a financier for triads, and he was a very nefarious man. And
So you think he whacked the wife? And
I think he did. I mean,
but you don't think it's arguably slightly coincidental that his lawyer matched the composite and faked his own death the same day?
Yes, it is. I mean, it's horribly unfortunate. Now, the composite, you can say in one breath, yes, it looked like him, and it did. But in other breaths, like, okay, he's a white dude, balding with a mustache in Orange County. There's a lot of those. So he wasn't a very distinctive looking man. Randy wasn't, or isn't. So whatever, it was what, I mean, I'll admit, there are days when I was like, to this day, I'm like, I wonder if he did. And
But that's reasonable doubt. What you're expressing right now is reasonable doubt, and clearly the jurors also had that as well. And so they did with the right thing.
Right.
And
you'd be amazed how many jurors come back and they say, we can't decide, so we're hung. I'm like, that means not guilty.
Yeah.
They don't get it. Or at the end of the day, I think they don't want to vote not guilty. So they just, nobody's that dumb that they don't get that not being able to decide is the same as reasonable doubt. But
yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, so that was a juicy one. I like that story. Yeah. What else you got, Mikey?
Did the Newport yacht murder case.
Oh, the Hawks?
Yeah, I did that one.
Oh, you want to tell that story?
Yeah.
Although you were representing the really bad people.
Yeah, I represented the wife.
Jennifer De Leon.
Yeah, Skylar De Leon wanted to buy a boat. He saw something in a penny saver, which back then was what you looked at, and it was for yachts. And he took the yacht out for a cruise with a guy, another co-defendant that he'd met in the Seal Beach jail, was working at the Seal Beach jail when he was there for a burglary.
Like working as a deputy?
Yeah, and he talked him into doing this murder.
A sheriff's deputy?
No, he was a civilian that was working there.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Hawks was a big dude. He was a big guy, and he and his wife were there, and he realized he couldn't take him on his own.
So wait, you missed the whole part where they plotted to murder these two people.
Well, yeah, there was no evidence that they were plotting. That's the first time you see them. If it was a movie, it started right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where they go meet the Hawks.
Go meet the Hawks and take it out for a test cruise.
And when you say they,
Alonzo Machane and Skylar De Leon.
Oh, so Jennifer's not there yet.
Jennifer's not there.
Oh, okay.
So Skylar realizes this guy's too big. I can't take him. So he says, let me get my pregnant wife to come see it. So they go a second time to see the boat. She was very pregnant at that time.
Like for reals pregnant, not faking
for
it?
reals pregnant.
Okay.
And then they find a guy. You can't make this shit up. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was a gangbanger from Long Beach. Cornrows, had the thing down to here with the beads in it. And he showed up like in a powder blue tuxedo as the accountant. And, it's not funny. It's not even remotely close to being humorous, but they let him on the boat for some reason, and they went out for another cruise. And they tied him up.
I was laughing not at what happens, but the fact he showed up in a blue tuxedo.
They tied him up. They made their intentions known, and they made him sign a bill of sale. And what was, I always got chills thinking about it. Mrs. Hawks missigned her name on a bunch of documents, or misspelled her name, excuse me.
On purpose.
On purpose. And then they wrapped a chain around him and threw him overboard while the boat was going. So the chain dragged off, and off went the Hawkses, and they were drowned. And
horrible. So
then the boat was there taken, their car was taken, and Skylar came to us, Ed Wellborn and myself, and he's like, Newport Beach won't give me the boat. I'm like, you're never getting that boat. It's not happening. And he went, you always love it when you read a police report. My attorney said not to come here, so he left my office and went right to Newport Beach PD to get his boat. And they ended up...
Get the basic stolen boat that he tossed the people off.
Yes, that he had $100 in his bank account. So how he bought a $455,000 boat or whatever it was is beyond me. He said cash, but no. They got a picture of him and Jennifer driving across the border in the Hawks' car. And that's kind of what really tied in.
Was all that a clue?
They're in Arizona with some power of attorneys to try to empty out their retirement account. I mean, it was just, they're shopping for houses with a minimum 55-foot dock. And the boat was, guess it, 55 feet long. It wasn't a whodunit. What was frustrating is Jennifer's parents were very, very well-fed people. They were very big. And the search warrant was in Long Beach. I'll never forget this. And I was in New York 27. I flew back into LAX, and Wellborn called me and said, hey, they're serving a search warrant on their house. Because Skylar and Jennifer were living in the garage of her parents. And so we go there, and you've been there. You know, there's a lot of cops milling around. They get the people sitting on a couch. And I walk up, and Ed walks up, and they're seated on the couch. And out from this closet comes this... Remember those old speakers, like stereo speakers?
Yes.
Well, imagine it like tilted like this with a little stand. So it's like an old square speaker, but out of the end of it is a pole, and there's a phallus on the end of it. And the judge,
a fake penis?
Yes, and the cop plugs it in, and this thing just, and the mother, all 300 some odd pounds, just jumps off the couch and says, "That's not mine." And I remember I was sitting on the couch next to Ed Wellborn, who worked for me at the time, and he's a great guy. And we just looked at each other. This is just fucking awesome. And it's just,
you know that Ed was with me when that guy slashed his throat in open court? Like, Ed and I were like, holy shit, this is wild.
Yeah, he's the
Ed gets the fun
He's the Dark Knight. And it was just the craziest experience. Like, this is just, and I remember I had an old flip phone back then, and I took a picture of a little video of it, or picture. And I remember within a week, every judge, I mean, even McKeno was like, hey, let me see that video I heard you have. I mean, it was going around. It was fantastic. But they ended up arresting him, the husband, Skylar, not her. And she was offered immunity. I mean,
this is Matt Murphy's case, right?
Yeah, the night of the warrant, the cops, Newport Beach cops, said to me they were searching for the bodies in Mexico of the Hawkses. And I said, Jennifer, do we have anything to worry about here? She goes, no, they're not going to find them in Mexico. And so that being said, when they offer her immunity, complete immunity, because she was just about to pop. And Murphy doesn't believe me, but it's true. He did offer it a second time. And I filmed her turning it down. Like, I don't want my kids to know I put their father on death row. And I don't think he did it, Molfetta. And I'm like, Jennifer, do you remember the conversation we had where I said they're looking at Mexico and you said they're not going to find him there? Doesn't that, whatever? So from that moment on, there were...
So he offered her complete immunity, meaning she would serve no time.
No time, never.
And all she had to do was testify against Skylar.
Yep.
And she turned it down.
Yes. Who, by the way, since he was convicted, has gotten a sex change. So, and she has married an inmate in the jail who's a woman. So she forfeited her life to save the life of a guy who's now a woman, and she's married to another woman. Go figure. So from the moment of the second immunity turned down, she wrote Skylar, her and Skylar wrote each other's 2,400 letters. And every letter they would trace their hands, and instead of the fingernails, be I love you, and we are forever, and bop, bop, and all letters were about how Molfetta doesn't understand their love. And I'm like, you're fucking right, I don't. I don't. My wife would put a jackboot on my head as she ran to the witness stand, like, what else do you want me to put on him? Yeah. The Lindbergh baby, he took him. I mean... And,
she would do.
Oh, okay. And so she was convicted. And she got life without possibility of parole. That was an interesting case.
She was offered nothing.
Nothing. She hates me now because I don't like it when people pander to the jury with the Bibles and all this overtly religious stuff. And her family is outside, and they do these prayer circles right outside the courtroom. And I told them about 3 days in a row, stop doing that. It's going to work against you. You know, it just looks too contrived.
Because she was on the boat when they were tossed over, right?
No, she was not.
Oh, she wasn't.
She was not. And I said finally,
right?
What?
We really don't think she was?
No, I know she wasn't. We know she was because McChain, the co-defendant, flipped.
Oh,
No,
gotcha.
she wasn't there. She went on the boats there's 3 trips.
Try to give him
Put her
comfort.
at ease, right?
Just put him at ease because was she ultimately kind of the mastermind behind that whole thing? Possibly.
As possible. She came across as very simple, very... your hostess just almost fell off the bar. It's not going to be the first time that's happened, so she recovered rather quickly. So, I don't know. She was a hairdresser. She was a very simple woman. She didn't seem to have it in her, but she also did have it in her, if you know what I mean. Like, she had a side to her, which was very manipulative. She knew what she wanted. You know, she fell for Skylar's BS, hook, line, he'd drive by, like, Long Beach Harbor, and he'd say, oh, there's my boat out there. You know, there's 4,000 fucking boats in our, or there's my yacht right there, which it wasn't his. He would go out for work during the day, but then he'd go to a neighbor's house and he'd be trying on her dresses and playing dress up all day long with her. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that speaker I talked about earlier, turns out he would use it on himself because he was supposedly in a motorcycle accident that had destroyed his bowels, and he needed that to have strength, which is really counterintuitive if you really sit and think about what it would do to that part of a man's body. But he said he needed that to control his bowel movements.
So he claimed that machinery was...
Skylar was fucked up 9 days from Sunday.
Wow.
And then we didn't get
got
to
a sex change, and we in California with our taxes paid for that, right?
Sure did.
That just pisses me off.
He did try, while in custody, to cut his penis off with a Bic razor. And I applaud him. He got about a quarter of the way through, apparently, which I always said he finished that task more than he ever finished anything else in his life. But he's an evil guy. Like, there was an aquarium in Jennifer's parents' house, and one night the house caught on fire. It turned out that somebody had messed around with the aquarium, and the only person that ever played with the aquarium was Skylar. There was a guy who he was in jail with at Seal Beach, who he took down to Mexico and basically cut his head off for a vote. And somebody's got to get this guy a boat because he's killing people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's on death row, though, or
Yes.
the previous
what is now, whatever it is.
dismantled
Yes.
bullshit. I know some.
Death.
But he was sentenced to death.
Supposedly a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger way back when. He was just so incredibly full of shit. I mean, a really prolific liar. And if you look him up now, you can Google him. You see Skylar De Leon. Now he's a girl.
Same name, kept the same name.
Of course, yes. It's like Pat. Remember that Saturday Night Live?
Yes. Jennifer Duke actually dressed up like Pat one year for Halloween. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So that was an interesting case. Very emotional. The family now hates me because on one of the days they're doing their prayer circle, I said, listen, I told you guys to knock it off. I said, just so we're clear, if Jesus does show up, I think he's going to sit with the Hawkses. And that didn't go.
That did not go.
No, it didn't really at all.
And he would have been, just for the
Yes.
record.
Yeah. There, yeah. I mean, I've had a lot, man. There's been a lot. There's been a...
You had one. Okay, before we move on to the next murder case, because there's one of interest that I want to talk to you about, the Ajax guy. Okay. But you mentioned Judge McKeno in that last story, and I want to circle back and I want to tell the listeners, I don't even know if you remember this, and you're talking about Skylar, like, trying to cut his own penis off. And you and I had a case that's garnered quite a bit of media publicity, and that was the Jose Nairi case where 3 men kidnapped and tortured, tased, whipped, burned, and mutilated a marijuana dispensary owner, took him to the desert, cut his penis off, poured bleach on his body. And then 3 weeks before trial, Jose Nairi and 2 others, not co-defendants, fled to Iran. And anyway, there's a big long story. Bad people. You actually represented one of those people.
I did.
One of the co-defendants. So you and I had that case together. You represented Ryan Kevorkian.
Yes.
Who doesn't get nearly the media attention that Jose Nairi does. But you represented him, and so there's nothing funny about that story, but what was funny, I don't know if you remember this morning, but we had that case set, you and I, and
Who's the holder, who's the cutter?
I don't know, can we say that?
We just did. Listen, let me first say this for anybody.
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to tell a funny story.
Look, we deal with a lot of intense, gruesome, disgusting things. And if you don't laugh about it, you're going to eat a gun or a barrel of booze. So we joke about it, and we just do. And we don't mean it disrespectfully to the victims. We don't mean anything other than it's our way of keeping our sanity. And I believe Sal Chula had one of the guys, and they held his penis.
And Robert Weinberg had the other, yeah.
Yeah, and
I
just wanted to clarify that my client was the cutter and not the holder, because I think if you're holding it as opposed to cutting it, it puts you in a different class of people.
No, you think he was the holder, not the cutter.
No, I want my guy to be the cutter, not the holder. He never touched it.
Oh,
He never
oh my
touched
God.
it. But I did the funny
I
thing
think your guy was the guy who stood on his chest.
about that case is the first two times the dad called me, I hung up on him because I thought somebody was just rat fucking me because of the name Kevorkian. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And I hung up.
Oh, because
His dad's name is Robert Kevorkian.
Yeah.
It's a doctor, Kevorkian.
Yeah.
And I just thought somebody was rat fucking me. I just kept hanging up. He goes, everybody does that to me. Stop hanging up on me. And they hired me on it. And yeah, that's the case we had together.
So, and you got a very good disposition for your client.
Yeah.
I actually, of all the perpetrators on that case, of the three guys, your guy was the least. He was brought in at the last minute. I believe that. And I actually believe that he was in tremendous amount of fear of Jose Nayeri.
Well, Nayeri is talking about Skylar De Leon and Danny Pang. I mean, Nayeri was evil. He's just an evil human being. I mean, listen, I have my theory about this, and the prisons are full of people. Not that they don't deserve to be there, but they're there for, I believe, a very specific reason. The 10th guy, and it's usually women, they're trying to impress them, reacting to them, dumping them, getting drugs. 9 out of 10 guys are in prison. Can I swear on this thing or something?
Yes.
Are in prison because of pussy. And the 10th guy is exactly where he needs to be. Not that the other 9 aren't where they need to be, but the 10th guy is just, like, I always used to laugh when they do those diagnostics at Chino, a 90-day diagnostic to see if it's suitable for prison. I'm like, who is, if you're suitable for prison, then you need to be in prison. I mean, nobody should be suitable for it, except for guys like Nayeri, guys like Skylar, guys like Pang, who are just evil. You look in their eyes and you just know. And I've seen them over the years, and I can spot them. And, like Jennifer De Leon had that vacant look about her. And I can tell you that 3 or 4 times during the trial, I looked at her and I said, when the fuck did this become okay? Like, in what world do you live in that this was okay? I said, and by the way, there wasn't a moment when you were going to get away with it. And there's just some people that they're just evil. And the value of human life is nothing. And, this whole caper with the De Leon and the boat was about getting money for a sex change. That's really all it was about.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
and the
have
Nayeri
people
case-
ever heard about, like, get a job, take out a loan? You don't have to go murder two really
Or
innocent
just deal
people.
with your lot in life. It just,
Yeah.
and then the Nayeri case, it's in terms of a warning, it all came about because the victim, who didn't deserve what he got, was talking about all the money he was making in Vegas at a blackjack table, as I remember. Vegas is a place where you want to stay low key. There's all sorts of.
But it was about greed. It was about jealousy.
Of course it
and
was,
greed, and
but
not
he
you
would have been a
wanted
target if it wasn't popping off, right?
Yeah. Well, if they didn't know that he had that much money, he wouldn't have been a target. But I agree. I mean, with that, I'm not saying it's his fault in any way, shape, or form, because you don't have to even brag about being rich to people like Newport Beach.
Right.
You got some money, Molfetta. You got a big.
But I would never should have. I mean, I'm at the blackjack table. I'm too busy trying to count to 21. I mean, it's a task for old Michael.
It is.
Instead of talking about what's in my account, and I don't. People like to talk about themselves. Again, he didn't have it coming, but nothing good's going to happen from being braggadocious at a place like Vegas.
Yeah.
Where it's just there's not a lot of good people there.
Yeah, 100%. Okay,
I
so
love going there. Well,
I do too. Let me tell you this funny story. Because you were involved. Okay, so you and I had the Kevorkian case on calendar in C57
right.
or 55,
Well,
the one at the end of the hallway. Remember that?
Yeah, I get them confused.
Okay, and so you were texting me because you had arrived prior to me getting there. And you were like,
Not
hey,
unusual.
yeah, that's not true. I was very punctual. But you were like, hey, where are you? And you were busting my balls on text, right? And I said, I'm like 15 minutes out. I'll be right there. Like I had to bring, and you're like, okay, boozerella. And you were like, you were accusing me like, oh, I must have been drinking the night before. I was 15 minutes late to the courtroom, right?
Yeah, because you always used to bust out with, I had to drop off the kids at school.
I
Molfetta.
did.
It's like, listen, I get that at home. That's the old.
Yeah, you were like, not buying. So you're like, okay, boozerella. And you're
Notice she didn't say yet. I would never drink on a school night. Just so we're clear.
I did not say that. So anyway, so you're busting my balls, and then I show up to court, and you are literally like 30 people deep in line. I'm expecting when I get there that you're close to getting your
Because I
case.
kept having to sit back.
No, you're full of shit. You were way far in
I
line.
don't like to work past 9:30 on Fridays. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, it's true. And so I was like, what? You're 30 people deep? You're like 30th in line. I was expecting you were right up and the judge was about to call her case, so I needed to run from the parking structure.
We had to be in 5 then.
So I get there. No, it was in the end one because it was, I'm not going to say the name of the judge because I'm going to tell this funny story about it. I don't want to upset him, but it was funny. Maybe I should say it.
Don't tell me that. Because
It was Andre.
Oh, God.
It was Andre. Okay, so I'll just say this. So we are, now you're like 30 people deep. And now it's almost like, it's like 9:30, 9:40.
Past my bedtime.
And I'm like, what? I got places to be because I had like 4 other courts to go to that day. And you had other courtrooms to go to.
Hungover.
And now I was not hungover. And we're in line. I brought my kids to school. We're in line. And so I'm like, my God, where is the judge? Right? So I go, who is the judge? And I look and I see it's my former colleague and buddy. I mean, we were friends years ago when he was in the office and now he's a big judge or whatever. But when we were baby DAs, and I mean in the 1900s, 1998, 99, he had a party at his house and a bunch of other DAs went there and we just had a whooping good time. We ended up spending the night because, there may have been alcohol consumed and no one was driving and, drinking and driving. And during that party, I don't know why, but decided to wrestle one another.
Like you and Andre.
Everybody was wrestling, but it was a match between me and Andre. And when I was younger, I had
Southern California, they call that an orgy.
Yeah. No, we were not naked wrestling, Michael.
Not yet. You didn't get there.
More ice for you. I have to go inside.
No, I don't give it in. Just do it warm. I don't care. I went to England once.
I know. And you know where else they only serve alcohol with no ice cubes is in Canada. Ugh. That's just not.
Been there too.
Maybe the Sprite will mix it up. I'm really sorry I suck on the ice today. But anyway. Okay.
Oh.
No, sorry.
Jesus.
I'll dump a little out.
My God.
I know you got to drive home. I don't want to.
Well, I mean, look, you don't have to roofie me. Just wave the flag. Wear a white shirt. Swinger. I'm there.
Mikey, you're so bad. Okay.
What?
I gotta find a Sprite. Do you see it? Oh, that right there. It's not gonna be that. Oh, sorry. You'll get over it. Okay. So back to our story because this is hilarious.
So I'm 30 deep in line.
You're 30 deep in line, and I see that the judge is my buddy Andre,
Well, you wrestled in an orgy. Go ahead.
who I had wrestled at this DA party. And not only did I wrestle him, but I was able to climb up on the couch and I jumped behind him and I got him in a little chokehold and he tapped out. Okay. Because I really had him. I used to, that's when I was from like the woods, okay, Boontown in Massachusetts in the Berkshires. And that's all we had for entertainment was we would fight. I would fight with my brothers, wrestle. My friend Maureen, we'd just fight. And so I was.
You guys make moonshine?
No, but we drank
Do you
it.
know, like family reunions to pick up?
No, but we drank.
What happened there?
I have some moonshine.
You make
here.
Massachusetts.
I got moonshine right here if you want
Of course
some.
you do. You make Massachusetts sound like it's like Tennessee in the 40s and 30s.
Well, the town I was from is very small town.
They're all small towns.
Cow tipping, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So and we were poor, so our entertainment was literally just fight each other. Like we're bored, let's fight. My brothers and I
was a government worker. You're wrestling a future judge.
Yeah,
A bunch of other government workers.
Yeah, so I jump on his back, I get him in a chokehold, he taps out. And then the next day, like I end up spending the night. My friend Jennifer spends the night because we do not want to drive. And then I have to go to work, And I remember my boss, Jack Sollins, I love that guy, right? He comes in and I'm literally laying on the office floor because I had way too much to drink. That's not the part of the story, and Jack is like, hey, and I think I'm going to get in trouble. And he goes, I heard you kicked Andre's ass last night in a wrestling match. Like he was like high-fiving me. So then when we're in court, fast forward 25 years later, we're in court and I see he's on the bench. He's now a judge, right? So I go up to Tina, the court clerk, who was just newly assigned to Andre. And I say, hey, Tina, I go, call the judge, tell him to get his ass out here or Heather Brown's going to put him in a headlock. And she goes, what? I can't do that. I go, just do it. He'll think it's funny, right? I think it's going to be funny. And she goes, I really can't do that. I'll get fired. I go, you're not going to get fired. Trust me. Right. So she's like, okay, but if I get fired, I go, don't worry about it. Right. So she calls and she's like, Heather Brown says she would like you to come out here or she's going to put you in a headlock. And so literally I walk back to you 30 people deep and the door flings open. And he jumps up on the bench and he looks around at the courtroom and he goes, Miss Brown, is there anything I can call for you today? Right. So we walk past like 30 lawyers waiting in line and they're all like, what the hell? So we go up there, we call the case, the Kevorkian case, get it set over. And without skipping a beat, Molfetta, you turn to me and you say, any chance you ever put Judge McKeno in a headlock? Because I'm going there next. Do you remember that?
I do. Always looking for an angle.
Funny.
Always looking for an angle.
You were always looking for an angle.
Well, I wasn't one of McKeno's favorites, so I was always looking for
I don't
something.
think he was anybody was his favorite. He didn't love any of us, but he did give me a good trial.
He was always a great trial, and he was always like very pleasant, like in chambers to talk to him and stuff for a deal. He was great, but then he got on the bench. I'm like, how'd you get so pissed off in those 20 feet from your chambers to the bench? I don't get it. And I didn't walk with you, so why are you mad at me? But
He just liked to pick the wings off flies.
yeah, he was like that.
Yeah. But he always gave me a great trial. He was always pleasant. He was always nice. And I love his wife. She's a...
No, yeah. But that was all you can ask for, right? Just a judge is going to give you a fair trial. Just stay out of it. There's some judges that ask questions in the middle. It's like, oh, sweet Jesus, stop. Or the other ones, these ones drive me nuts. It's like that just hem and haw over a decision.
Oh, I can't stand
And it's like, look, Judge, the way it works is I say this, she says that, or he says that. You decide. I live with it. We all live with it either way. It's okay. It's okay if you reach a decision. Oh, you want to brief this? And sometimes I always said this, and judges, I'm like, that's like asking me to find a case saying the Fourth Amendment's not the Fifth Amendment. It's not there. It's a judgment call. I think it's this, you say it's that, so just make a decision.
And it would drive me too, because it's like the whole point of being a judge is that's your job is to make a decision.
Just make a decision. We live with it. Yeah. That's how it goes.
The worst is when there's people on the bench who don't know how to make a decision or don't want to.
They don't want to be wrong. They're scared of being wrong is what it boils out to. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. Half the time, somebody thinks you're wrong, right?
Half the time, you do things for the record. You do things for the client. You're like, all right, this is going to be overruled. No shit. Or I'm going to file this motion. It's going to be denied. No shit. But if I don't do it, some appellate lawyer
is going to say you should have done this and you didn't do that. So you have to at least make the argument and fight and then
support. Let the go to those seminars as defense attorney. It's like, if I did all that, first of all, I'd have to get paid about $8 million per case. And second of all, there's not enough hours in the lifetime to do those things that they all want you to do. And it's, you got to pick a defense, you got to pick a strategy, and you go with it. And same with judges. Like, what you think, do it. Just do it. And the worst is when you see some judges, they come back and they went and talked to a more experienced judge, which in one breath, I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad at least they had the self-awareness to say, hey, look, I'm out of my depth here. Let me go ask somebody that might know. But on the other hand, it's like, come on, man, you're a judge. And, and I'm not talking about Andre when I say this, but nowadays, I used to say that I didn't mind that there was an old boy network. I just wish I was a part of it. And now I am part of it. But I walk into court sometimes and I see the judge and I'm like, no way. Like, I didn't know that person was a judge. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And that could be upsetting to me. It's like, there's too much power, in their hands to be there. And some, I've been wrong. Some I thought, no way, that became really good judges. And others.
You thought they might be good and you're like, what has happened? Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times the judges, like former public defenders or defense attorneys, they're the worst because they're trying to prove to the DAs that, hey, I'm not a defense guy. And some DAs do that the other way, but most of them just say, I don't care what you think. I've never heard the government say anything I don't agree with, so why stop now? But again, it's like an umpire, right? If I know what I'm getting and you call it the same way all throughout, you're consistent, I live with it, right? It's some of them that are, like there were a couple of judges, we'd say that the objections were like a possession arrow in basketball. And there were a couple where I would burn an objection because I just gotten the last one sustained, what's the word I'm looking for? Sustained. Because I wanted to get a denial, or overruled, because then I'd get
next one to get.
I get the possession arrow back.
Oh my God!
And I was a DA then. It was Francis Munoz, and the defense attorney knew what I was doing, so we kept just objecting to freaking nonsense
Oh.
just to get the possession arrow back in our favor. And that's not justice. I mean,
No.
of course, that's the same judge that ordered black in custodies to read Malcolm X's or see the movie Malcolm X as a condition of their release. OR. Yeah. Yeah. I was a DA in court that afternoon, and we had to sit there, remember, and you sort of sit and do arraignments for, in custody misdemeanors. And I got up and left. She goes, "Where are you going?" I said, there's going to be some sort of review about all of this, and I just don't want to be a part of it. And she was making them watch Malcolm X.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
She got removed from the bench, or
No, I think she just retired. I mean,
just
at the time she was 700 years old.
Yeah.
I think she just retired.
Okay, so you had another case. One more case I want to talk about is you had a case.
Izzy Ocampo?
Yeah. Was that the serial killer who
Yeah.
ate the...
Yeah. Izzy Ocampo was a serial killer that was killing homeless people in the Anaheim area. Former Marine. He also killed a roommate and a mother because if you took it was a Eminem CD, and you took your fingers and just like tortured it with your fingers, you spelled out the words kill Bill and Mom or whatever the kids and the mother's name was. So he took that as a sign from, I don't know whether it was Eminem or God, so he killed them. And he killed the homeless people. His father was homeless. Like anything in life, I guess there's a hierarchy in the Marine Corps. Like if you see action, don't see action. And he was deployed, but he worked in the morgue, I believe. And so if you don't see action, those Marines that see action give shit to those that don't. It's like your JV as opposed to varsity. And it always sort of bothered him. And that messed with him. And then he came home and he started killing homeless people because he thought he was going to become homeless. And I was like, Izzy, just think you're going to get rid of all of them and therefore they won't exist. And Izzy was a guy,
How many people did he kill?
I want to say 6, 7,
Oh.
something like that. He asked me, he goes, "Why would you take my case?" And I said, "Well, you're so galactically fucked up that I'm curious." And he was. And, when you do a defense, you basically do the defendant's history on a death penalty case from conception to the moment of the crime. And then even beyond when they're in custody. And sexual history is a big part of it. And there's a lot of sexual abuse with a lot of these guys. And I said, "Izzy, when did you lose your virginity?" And he looked at me dead in the eye. He goes, "Which time?" And one was to an uncle in Mexico City when he was like 5. And then the other was to a girl at Esperanza High when he was a senior in high school. I mean, and just stuff like that. And he'd come to court, death penalty cases, you go to court like every couple of months. And one day he had a yarmulke on, another time he had a Quran, the next he's just covering all his bases, making sure whatever God was in had the keys that moment in time of the whole thing he was praying to him. And I'll never forget it. There's a part of the jail where it's white linoleum floors, white cinder blocks, it's just white and just, fluorescent lights, and it's just a hall and it's just white. It's like, and on the side of the cells, but you can't see them because you just see white wall. And each cell has a little hole where they stick their hands out to get cuffed if they're going to be brought somewhere. And I'm walking, the elevator pops up and I walk down this hall. It's just white. And then all of a sudden this head comes out about, waist high through that hole where you put your hands, and it's Izzy's head. So everything's just white and you see this face of the serial killer. It's like, Jesus Christ. I said, "Izzy, don't fucking do that." And he lived alone. He was housed alone in the Orange County Jail. And every day you'd stick your hand out of that same hole I was just talking about, and you put a little Ajax in there so they scrub their own sink and their own toilet. And he hoarded it. And then one Thanksgiving day, I want to say probably 15 years ago, whatever it was, he ate it all and killed himself. And saved the taxpayers a lot of money.
He did, huh?
Because Michael didn't get paid on that one.
Oh, really? What's
tried.
going on?
I tried Goethals. Judge Goethals basically told me to fuck off. Because they pay you a third and then they pay you the rest on the back end. And it was like right before trial. I know.
You already prepped.
I should get some of the back end stuff. And he's like, "You're lucky that we're not coming after the third we paid." I'm like, "Okay, fair enough." Yeah, but Izzy was a messed up guy. I mean, he was truly, messed up.
That's crazy that you could go from like serving your country and being a Marine to like murdering that many people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, after not being all messed up from combat. Or
Now, this little tidbit, I'll tell you this. There's your buddy, your pal, Todd Spitzer, the DA of Orange County, who has apparently chosen to ignore the fact that there's a moratorium on the death penalty. There's 3 people in the Orange County DA's office is seeking death against right now in Orange County. I represent 2 of them. So I'm like Dr. Death, apparently.
Is it because I had that one time the only 2, but one Frank Cano, he pled guilty. There was a new one, the one who did 8, the quadruple.
Stabber?
No,
No, I have one who executed a woman, supposedly, allegedly, and another who went on like in Garden Grove.
Yeah, that was mine.
Castaneda.
Yeah, I had that case.
His first name is what? Zachary or something like that. Isaac or some is
No.
kind of name, but
It'll come to me.
I have
Matt,
him. No, I was appointed him just the other day.
Oh, really? Yeah, Castaneda. Yeah, he that was.
I haven't met him yet.
Do you know that I had the worst PTSD after that evening? Because I was in trial on Nairi, your client.
Grove?
I was in trial on Nairi. I had already responded to a murder in the morning where this guy had bashed his mom's head in with a wine bottle. I had 24 hours before that responded to another murder. There's all these little ants out here. I've never seen ants before in my life out here. And then, and then I get called out of a double murder. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Like, I've been in a trial all day. I already smell like death from the morning. And on a guy who chopped a guy's penis off. It's horrible. Yeah. And then he calls me, he goes, it's now a quadruple. And there were 8 crime scenes.
Yeah, I think 6 died, 4 died.
4 died.
Yeah.
One guy had his nose chopped off with a machete at the gas station. Another lady was working at an insurance company and got stabbed up. Yeah, there's video of all. I watched all the videos. I saw them in, the pool of blood, and I went to the scenes and saw the body pieces all over from the stabbing. And then 2 guys he murdered with a machete. And then he killed a painter who was getting a sandwich at Subway, and then stabbed up a security guy at the 7-Eleven. It's all on video, and I watched all those. Michael, I came home, and my husband's like, how was your day? And I was like in shock.
Which is why we joke around about it. Like,
yes.
If you keep that shit in and you see stuff sometimes, and, I took about a year off of criminal defense doing trials because of that. I'm like, I became numb to it. Like, I didn't give a shit. And I'm like, I'm not a not give a shit guy. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I'm like, I had enough. It's like you get to the point, and I tell clients this because clients think if they tell their lawyer they did something, or if I think less about them, that I'm not going to fight as hard for them. And I always tell them, look, I'm not fighting for you or what you did. I agree with the right to have me. I agree with your right to an attorney. But don't think for a second that I judge what you did. Most of what you're charged with, you probably did some version of it. It's either a who did it or a what is it. And usually they're what is it. It's not a whodunits. They're pretty rare. And I tell people, I said, nothing you can say, killing babies or whatever it is, you're not going to shock me because I've heard it. I've heard it all. And I don't agree with any of it. I don't like any of it, but here you are. And those things, if we don't joke about them, we keep that stuff inside. I mean, like the Newport yacht murder case, when the guy who flipped McChain, who was on the boat, talks about them happening. Everybody in the courtroom was crying. Everybody. The detective, Byington from Newport, was crying. Murphy crying. Every judge crying. Jurors crying. The only person that wasn't crying was Jennifer. That was it. And I looked at her, I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I told her every day she had to cry. She's going to lose her kids, all this stuff. She cried during the reading of jury instructions. Now, those of you out there, after the case is over, we argue the case, the judge instructs the jury. And it's usually about 45 minutes of just reading law to the jury. On a death penalty case, it's more like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it's mind-numbingly boring for us. And she starts crying during that. And I'm like,
now you're crying?
I said, I would have read the fucking instructions to you every day if I knew that was going to get you going. And it was horrible. And these things are horrible. You take them home with you at night sometimes, and yeah, I admit I've won trials, and I'm like, can I just let a psychopath out on the street? But it's not me. I mean, I've never lied. I've never bullshitted a jury. I've lost money because of how honest I am to clients I had a client who insisted on talking to me before I got the reports. And I'm like, no. He goes, I wasn't even there. It's bullshit, Molfetta. I got the reports. Very righteous self-defense. Like, witnesses that say that my client was just sitting there and this other gangbangers dragged him out of the car and beat him, and then he killed one of them. And his DNA is all over the place. When I finally get the reports, I'm like, dude, I can't say it's self-defense now because you already told me you weren't there. Hand mama back her money, and So I don't feel bad personally when I do that stuff, but it's just sad, especially murders. You know this. The families, there's no closure in court. There's a conviction doesn't give anybody closure. It just doesn't. And even a verdict to death doesn't give you closure because it doesn't change the thing that gives you all the pain, which is you lost a loved one. And there's just no way to get that back. And I've read many, many places that losing a loved one to murder is the worst way, the most overcomable pain that you've ever. I don't think overcomable is a word, but you can use it now on this podcast. It's just impossible to overcome it. It's impossible. And they go to court looking for justice, and the Marcy's Law lawyers now that we want the trial now. My client family has a right to have it now. It's like it's not going to get them what you're selling. It's just not. It's not going to give them closure. It's not going to give them peace. It's probably going to end up pissing them off even more because they're going to hear things throughout the trial. And, every trial I've had, every murder trial I've had, I say to the families of the victim, I say, hey, look, sorry for your loss. I'm a human being. I got kids. I said, but I'm just doing my job. I just know that it's not personal. Most of them are pretty gracious about it. Ethan Hawks, the young man, pretty much told me to fuck off. And then went to Murphy's like, how could he do that? I'm like, dude, it's the only job in the Constitution. It's constitutionally mandated. So you need to get over that part. And then I've had people hug me. Fathers hug me. That nightclub killing case in Costa Mesa where the two girls kicked the one girl in line for the
in the head.
Yeah.
Was that Troy's case?
Yeah. The father of the dead girl came up and hugged me afterwards. And I basically said she started it, which I think she did, that she really didn't go to Chapman. She wasn't really the great girl. She used to hang around in crash pads with her gangbanging buddies and stuff. And he was a very gracious man. I mean, I was at Starbucks by Westcourt and I got threatened on that case. Hey, you represent those Mexicans. And I was like, this coffee ain't that good anyway. I'll just go get in my car and get the hell out of here. But so, we go through a lot. So, the fact that you had PTSD after seeing all that stuff, I've been to those scenes. It's not good. I was on a ride along as a DA when we got called to this house. I remember it was like 3 a.m. It's on Bristol, and you get to the front yard and there's this smell. You're like, ugh, and they know right away what it is. And then they had a flashlight and you look at the windows and the windows are moving because there's maggots on the windows because there's a dead body inside. And I was like, this is not a gang case because I was the target gang deputy at the time. Like, this isn't a gang case. I'm gonna be in the car. I'm in a suit. There's no need for me to run in there. And in fact, there's a McDonald's right there. My fat ass will go have something to eat. It's you have to laugh. You have to make jokes about it. You'll eat a gut.
Amen. I don't plan on eating any guns anytime soon.
Well, listen, there are a lot of people in our business that maybe tip the elbow a little bit too much too because of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be somewhere along the way, defense attorneys and DAs couldn't be friends, even though I married one. But it used to be on Fridays.
We'd drink together.
We go drink together, yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, it was cool because it was cathartic almost. You could joke around. We all have a role to play. And now I don't know how many times now I look at DAs, I'm like, fuck, I didn't do it. My client did it. Don't fucking get on my case. And it's just hard. It's a hard job. It's a very hard job. People don't get it.
Yeah, they don't get it. And now that I'm a defense attorney, I feel the other side of being a defense attorney and, just wanting to help your client and having some DAs not, even consider what you're saying. So or treat you with disdain or self-righteousness.
Listen,
and you're like, what? Are you kidding me?
You learn as a defense attorney. A lot of people are like me. They go college, law school. I mean, I know you worked. You were up in Malibu, I think it was. You told me once you were working, and you lived a life before you became a lawyer, and so you had perspective. I didn't. What the fuck did I know? And so it's black and white. You're married to a cop, essentially. It's black and white for them, and there's no gray. And you learn as a defense attorney there is gray. Actually, there is, within each crime, there's different types of defendants that commit the exact same crime and deserve different consideration.
I agree.
And as far as a DA, you don't think that.
You don't think that.
You don't. And because you don't get it. You don't know. Because first of all, you're young. Second of all, you have a lot of power. And third of all, if you're like me, high school, college, law school, power. I didn't know what the hell to do with it. I just didn't know. I tried to be fair, what I thought was fair, but I'm sure there were times I was a complete asshole. There's times when I am a complete asshole, but it's just...
I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
But I still love you.
I'm lovable.
You are lovable.
But it's a fun job. It's a hard job. I wouldn't do I did civil law. I do some civil law now. And it's like, why do I do this shit? The hours, I hate it. But for me, criminal law was, because I played sports, I played football in college, I played rugby for 30 years after college at a very high level. There's a game, there's a score, and there's an end. You know, in criminal law, there's a trial, there's a sentence, and it's over. Civil law, hey, you won, now go collect.
Yeah, it takes.
Or you lost, hide your guys' money. I mean, it's just, there's no end to it. There's no winner, loser. It's not clear. And that for me is what I need. It's clear. I need clarity. I need it over, because I don't have the attention span I should have. And, you know, I have the attention span of a very, very stupid ferret. So I need it to be over.
I got you.
Yeah, that's where.
Is that a sign that we need to end our episode? I think it might be. You said you need it to be over, Michael.
I do. My
I don't know. You got somewhere to be.
my lovely daughter is headed off to law school tomorrow.
What? You must be so proud.
I am. I am.
Well, you got to go say goodbye.
Molfetta in the Ivy League, Brown. Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, somewhere the Molfetta kid is like, what? How the hell did I get denied? And the Molfetta kid got in. But no,
It was a mistake.
It was.
No, it was a mulligan.
she worked for you, didn't she?
She did.
Olivia, yeah.
She did. She was amazing. I loved her.
You're the reason she got into Penn. There it is. It's on you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks to the $75,000 a year tuition. Thank you.
Yeah, you can afford it.
I'll be just fine.
Well, gosh, I loved all these stories, breaking it down. I loved you talking about like the dark side and how you're trying to, help people and at least give them their right to a defense, right? It's really important, Michael. And you have always been a source when, my whole theme of this podcast is defeating the darkness, bringing light to the darkest places. And your humor has always done that for me, which is one of the reasons I find you so endearing and brought you on the show. Because if nothing more, even when I think you're a total pain in the ass, you make me laugh. And I love that.
Well, let me also say this. In a crime, there's the victims' families, which are the obvious victims. There's also the defendants' families.
They're victims.
And think about this. If you could be your pulpit banging right winger, fuck the defense, give me guns. If you have a kid, you know exactly what I'm talking about is true. No matter what your kid did, you love that kid to death. And if he's taken from you, whether he deserves to be taken or not, it's a soul-crushing experience. And, I tell people a lot. I've told people over the years, I'm like, look, I can't do any better than Frank Ospino, the public defender was an awesome lawyer, could do for you. I can't. And other times I've told them, I said, well, I kind of fucked you right now, didn't I? And they go, why? I said, well, if you don't hire me, you're going to wonder for the rest of your life if you should. And if you do, I'm expensive. And I said, but you know what? I've already told you there's not a lot I can do. Maybe I can do something here or there. I said, but you're hiring me for you, not for your son. Because you want the peace of mind of knowing as a parent you did what you could do. And I've seen it. I've seen them drain their 401ks. I've seen them go to, Tia and Tio and Abuela and Abuelo and borrow money left and right so they can defend their kid who did something horrible. They're victims too. The families are victims too. They weren't involved in it. They're not responsible for it. And they love that guy. Just like I love my kids. I mean, they don't commit crimes, but they do stupid shit sometimes. And I'm like, you almost love them more in those moments, right? It's like, hey, now, because then a part of you is like, did I play a role in all this? Like, did I fuck them up here? It's just, so that I think I help them too. I help families, understand and somehow come to grips with going to prisons every weekend for the rest of their lives, which some of them do.
Some of them do. They sure do.
Now you're a defense attorney. You've been to those jails on weekends.
I have.
It is not fun.
I try to go during the week when there's not as many people.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks to Izzy Ocampo, who killed himself, and they made a big deal talking about how dangerous this guy was and blah blah blah. I said, well, for a guy that dangerous, why are they leaving him alone with an intoxicant or a toxic fucking cleaning solution for hours on end to hoard it? And suddenly, my visits to the jail had like a 3-hour header on them. Like I would just sit
for 3 hours
because I was ripping the sheriff.
Well, you were pissing off the sheriffs. You can't do that,
I think
Michael.
you've done that too.
Oh, I may have pissed them off on occasion. I'm back in their good graces. Shh, let's not talk about
For
it.
now.
Wonderful. They're amazing.
For now. Hey, thank you very much.
Oh my God. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the warm whiskey. I mean, just
Right? I know. We needed more ice cubes.
in bars across America, people are walking out saying, I'll have a warm whiskey, please.
So it's gross. I'm sorry.
It was. And I'm going to drive home now.
Now you're going to be able to drive home because it was so gross you didn't
So
want to
gross,
drive.
I won't.
I was actually saving you, Michael.
You did. You saved the people of the state of Southern California.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you so much. We're out of time, so that's a wrap. We want to thank Mike Molfetta for all his insight into the criminal underbelly and the dark side of things. And until we meet again, if you can't find the light, be the light, like Michael Molfetta. So long now.
There it is.
Be the light, shine so bright. Turn around.